Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. This is Travis here at the Prepared Homestead. Want to start off by thanking everyone for stopping by and watching the videos. The amount of positivity, support, the kind words are very much appreciated. I really do enjoy reading them, and I'm doing my best to contact or to respond or to email people back. Sometimes, like I've said before, it gets to be a lot, especially as the channel is growing and growing. With all the things I'm doing around here on the homestead, and then trying to contact the many people that are messaging me every day and commenting on videos. But it is still something that I enjoy to do. So I am trying to keep up with it. I maybe take a few days, but I'll do my best to get back with you. Before I get started, if you would like to go ahead and like the video and subscribe, or at least like it before you're done watching it, I would appreciate that. This is one of those, it's just me getting up on the soapbox and speaking, which has been that lately, but not so much current news. And I've struggled with exactly what I want to say. I know that the passion in me is there to say these things, but I sometimes, between knowing what I can and can't say, or should or shouldn't say here on YouTube, and then just what to say to get the correct point across, because I don't want to come across as someone that is trying to stir up violent actions or anything like that, just that alone. So bear with me on this. In my YouTube comments on a video I did a few days ago, there is someone that has been making a lot of comments, and this person comments frequently on my videos. I have yet to be able to figure out if this person is just a troll that's just there to stir things up, if it's someone that is a like-minded person but's just playing devil's advocate to kind of spark conversation, or if this person truly is what they claim to be, which is supporting in a grand way this communist, Marxist, progressive revolution to completely take over not just the United States, but really the whole Western world. And I will admit, this person's posts come across quite intelligent, and some of the things that this person says are not wrong. Let's just say that. If you're interested, it's I'm trying to remember the name of the video, the one that I'm going to be talking about today, the comments. It's about this new, the Civil War in Wisconsin. I think that's the actual title, Civil War in Wisconsin. If you want to scroll through, there's a whole lot of comments, but there's a thread there of him and several other people, including myself, engaged in conversation. So, that being said, let's get to some of my thoughts on what he's saying. He's basically saying that we, the patriotic, silent majority, those that hold true to traditional values, traditional morals, freedom, this democratic republic, individual, liberties and things like that are dying. That this whole idea is a dying thing, and that no matter what we think we're doing right, in the end we are going to lose. That's not his exact words, but I believe I am interpreting what he's saying correctly. That, and of course he brings in race and says that we white people, we European colonists and things like that, have destroyed the planet for so long that the rest of the world, the indigenous people, the brown people, the black people, all this, they're going to rise up and take over. And if so, of course, a lot of his argument is very much race-based. But there are some things that he says that he's correct on, but he's also missing a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And that's what I want to talk about. His argument is that the left, this hard, progressive, communist left, will win in the end, and that they will win without ever firing a shot. That is what he believes will happen. He and people like him, many on that hard left side, they truly believe that this civil war that they're engaged in, and I think most of them would agree that it's a civil war, or that it's a war of hearts and minds, that it is active, it's being fought, and that they will prevail. But they believe that it's being fought through ideas, through philosophical differences, and that their ideas, their philosophy, their beliefs will win out at the end of the day, and we will be defeated, and they will take over the world, and all of our ideas, all of our beliefs, all of our founding principles and morals will be destroyed, and it will all be done without a shot. And I have to admit that thinking about what he says, it all sounds really good on paper. But is it very much like, say, the whole idea of communism? That on paper, communism sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it? Have you ever actually read it? I know as Americans, we're very much, in a way, indoctrinated, at least in my generation and prior, that communism is bad. And it is. But we're very rarely ever taught what actual communism is. And there's the communism that's in action, that's been used in the past, in history, and currently. And then there's the communism that's on paper. The communism on paper sounds really good. It just doesn't work. That's the big problem. It just doesn't work. And the left will do this argument, well, there's never actually been a nation that's truly been pure communistic, pure social Marxist, all this kind of stuff. Whatever. The fact is that it is evil, and it's completely solely dependent upon the true goodness of people. And it just doesn't work that way. Because inherently, people are going to, at least some people are going to, be selfish and do corrupt and immoral things when they're given the power and the opportunity to do so. And communism does not have a system of checks and balances to put those kind of people in their place, amongst all the many other evils that it is. So he's saying that they will win this war, that they will outbreed us. He actually says something to that effect. And he gives pretty good arguments. Look at Europe. Look at what's happening to Europe. Europe is really becoming, the once most powerful region, the region of this world that has been nearly number one in many areas of exploration, of development, of creating a civil societies. And sure, there's been a lot of dark things that's come out of Europe, but there's been a lot of good that's come out of it in developing societies. And here Europe is going through very possibly another dark ages, because they did not hold true to certain principles, and they've allowed this sea of radical ideas to infiltrate their system and their beliefs and their morals, to where there is nothing left of their morals, and is nothing left of founding principles of basic goodness, that you can say that this is right and this is wrong. Everything now is gray. Got it? It's not black and white there. It's all gray, and everything's relative, and whatever you think is okay, and they're falling apart over there in a lot of ways. And he uses that as example, and other civilizations as an example. And he says that that's what's going to happen here. So I thought about that, and I said yes, but to myself anyways, because, all brilliant people talk to themselves. Just kidding. I was thinking that, but he's forgetting one thing. There's one thing that he is not factoring into his argument, and that is the unique and fiery and passionate spirit of the American people, which is very different than anywhere else in the world. You know, we look at places like, say, China, for instance, and we see the things that China has done to their people. A once great nation that has beautiful and colorful history, and the truth is that China does. It has a very beautiful and colorful history and colorful culture and very rich culture. And yet look what communism has done there. And while they've, you know, economically and militarily has built themselves up, they are really hurting the Chinese people. And I keep thinking to myself, how do the people in China put up with this? Why don't they revolt? Why don't they stand against that? And there have been times that they've tried, but as a real masses, they have not. And I believe it's the difference in their culture of how they believe. They don't have quite the rebellious, independent, that patriotic belief that, and I'm not talking patriotism towards government, I'm talking patriotism towards this idea of independence, this idea of liberty, this idea of self-governing. They don't have that, and it's not been taught to them, and yet we do. And that is the difference between the American people and the rest of the world. And that's why they're having such a difficult time of gaining control here in America. Because we here have those things, that rugged independence, that rugged individual liberty. And while many have forgotten that, there are vast amounts of our population all over that still hold true to that. And while it may not be a majority, I believe that there are much larger numbers than the left think that are willing to stand, fight, and die for that. Because they know that the alternative is to go into an abysmal slavery of this left communistic, progressive, immoral system. And so I think many people would be willing, maybe I'm wrong, help me out here, but I think many true patriotic Americans, if they were pushed to that line, would say, if my choice is to live under this type of liberal, progressive, Marxist, communist regime, or to fight and possibly or most likely die or be imprisoned or whatever, then I know clearly what my decision is. And that is the thing that they're not figuring. They're not factoring in that. Because America is very different than the rest of the world because of that. And it's not just the gun owners. I mean, sure, that's the tool that many of these gun owners might use, or many of these Americans might use, but that's not just it. There's much more to just owning a gun or the Second Amendment. There is this fiery passion inside for many generations that we built, fought, died, and created something here that was really a radical evolution when it comes to governments throughout the history of human history. It was really a very radical idea that people should be equal, that people should be free. And I know the equality part took us several generations, but we're there, really. And they think that they can just come in like a wildfire and just run over us with these ideas that aren't really new. None of their ideas that they're putting out, they're not new, and they're all lies. They're not what they say they are. They're not really out there for racial equality. If they are, then what about all this other stuff that they're not doing about racial equality? They're not about ending violence against, black people, because there's all this other violence against black people that they ignore. They're not really about, protecting children, because they're also about murdering children or kidnapping children. They're not about supporting a woman and her rights, because they're also not about actually supporting a woman and her rights in other ways. See, it's very divided in what they say, and it's very elusive, and it's a newspeak is what it is. But they believe that they will conquer us. One of the things that he says in the comments is that, it used to be said that the pen was mightier than the sword, and that they believe that the keyboard is mightier than the gun, and that they will use their cancel culture, and that they will use of destroying people publicly on the media and social media to bring us down, and that every time we stand up and we speak out, that they will use their media and their social media to destroy us. And that's where I think he's right. That is what they're doing. Look at the case in Kenosha, Wisconsin, just a couple of nights ago, where this young man used a firearm in self-defense. I wasn't there, so I don't know the whole feeling, but I know from watching videos, and I've watched several of different angles of the whole scenario that played out there. And everything that I've seen, it definitely appears that this young man, was defending himself. It was pure self-defense. But yet he's been arrested. He's been charged with first-degree murder, which is absolutely ridiculous. Even if he was guilty of committing a crime, there's no way they could pin first-degree murder on him. And the media and the social media has absolutely destroyed this man in the last day and a half. I mean, destroyed him. They've already dug into his past, what involvement he has in political affiliations and organizations. They are absolutely destroying this man. And completely, and then of course lifting up the victims of what he, the people that he shot. And all the people that he shot were criminals, sex offender history. These were not good, upright, moral people of society. And they were attacking him. The video is pretty clear on that. This is what they will do, and it will become more and more of that. They have a good portion of the government on their side. They have the attorneys and the prosecutors and the judges on their side, and they actually have a lot of law enforcement on their side, as much as they want to speak out against them and defund them, especially upper high-ranking brass, people that make the decisions for law enforcement. They have the media, mainstream media, pretty much eating out of their back pocket, and they have a great control of social media also. And so because of this is where they think that they will win. And they could easily win. They absolutely could. There could be, for the first time, a absolute complete revolution, a complete 180 of a nation going from one political ideology to the next, to an exact opposite. A complete communist revolution could happen in this nation, and there'd be no physical conflict other than maybe a few individuals. And they could win, because he is right. They control so much in that area. And what it does, it makes you and I become fearful to speak out. It makes us become fearful to stand up and to take a stand politically, to take a stand morally, to take a stand ideologically, and to take a stand in combat. Because we know that if we do, we're going to just be out there on our own. And that's something that we have to be different about. They are really good. I've always said this about the left. One reason why the left has become so powerful is because as long as you're on the left, they don't care what you think. There could be two ideologies that absolutely, or two political stances that hate each other. They just absolutely hate each other. But as long as they're on the left, they're okay with it, because they view the right, the conservative, the freedom, the libertarian, the anti-communist side as the enemy above all. Whereas our side, we just can't get together as well. Sorry, I got chickens over here pecking we can't get it together, and we have to. That has to change with us. When we see people like this young man in Wisconsin that stood his ground and defended himself amongst evil all around him, we need to stand up and defend him. And sometimes that's through our dollars, that's speaking out online, speaking out publicly with our friends and family. And in the end, if it gets to the point that we have to take up arms, we have to be ready for that, because we know for a fact, I believe this without a doubt, that if it comes to that, we can win. They may control technologies that we don't have, but those technologies only get them so far. We have mass numbers, and we have the heart, the passion. For those of you history buffs, back me up on this. How many times throughout history has an overwhelming, much more advanced militarily, technologically, much higher trained and armed standing military failed to defeat a much smaller, more poorly armed, and sometimes not even armed at all, rebellious citizenry that were standing their ground to defend what was theirs? So we have that on our side. We have that. If just a little side note, if you want to know what I'm talking about, look up the Battle of Carthage, Missouri during the war between the states. Read up on that battle and see what happened. That's what I'm talking about. We cannot allow their fear tactics and their cancel culture, because they have numbers and they have technology and they have lots of money and they have all the media on their side, to put us in so much fear that we are no longer willing to stand our grounds. I believe with all my heart now that we are in a civil war. Last night again in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it was another horrible night. And it's going to just continue, and it's spreading into other cities. It's not over, folks. I think it's just beginning, and we have to be ready for that. And we may again need to refresh that tree of liberty. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.